like this here with all the ice on it.
Now to a story that we've been following, a father's search for answers after his son vanished more than 2 months ago.
Daniel Robinson disappeared on June 23rd in the far West Valley. He was last seen leaving his work site in Buckeye that morning. A month later, his Jeep was found in a ravine, but there was no sign of Daniel.
Team 12's Josh Sanders spoke with the private investigator hired by Robinson's family, who has not given up hope of finding Daniel.
Jeff McGrath is an expert at reconstructing accidents, but says when he saw the state of Daniel's Jeep, something was off.
Immediately when I saw the vehicle, I noticed there was something that wasn't right with it.
On July 21st, nearly a month after his disappearance, Daniel Robinson's 2017 blue Jeep Renegade was found rolled over in a ravine. Just miles from his work site, the airbags deployed, and no sign of the 24-year-old.
The damage didn't match with the terrain and where it was laying.
Where's my son?
Daniel's father, David, brought in private investigator Jeff McGrath to piece together what led up to the crash. Buckeye police handed over the Jeep and their report from the vehicle's airbag control module, or ACM, showing what happened after the airbags were deployed. McGrath's team ran their own analysis.
After the airbags came out, somebody turned that ignition over at least 46 more times. That's not normal. We usually see 1 or 2 because it adds 1 when we download the box. We have to put power to it.
The ACM also records the vehicle's speed.
There's an additional 11 miles on the car since the airbags deployed. So that tells me the car was driven around after it crashed.
Buckeye police are now analyzing data from the Jeep's entertainment system connected to Daniel's cell phone. McGrath says the system shows the Jeep was involved in a collision around 1 p.m. on June 23rd, nearly 4 hours after he was last seen.
We have a gap in time and we don't know where he went, what was going on at that point. By looking at the photographs, it doesn't match the area. Sometimes those could be a staged event, and this looked like a staged event to me.
At this time, the department has no evidence to suspect foul play or a crime. McGrath doesn't believe Daniel's disappearance was criminal either, after discovering he may have been struggling with his mental health weeks prior to his disappearance. Whatever the reason, his goal remains to find Daniel Robinson.
We want to bring him home to his family so they can have some closure.
I'm not going to give up. I'm not leaving until I see him again.
His case takes us out to the desert areas of Arizona, more specifically the Phoenix area and the Buckeye area of Arizona. And today we're going to be talking about the disappearance of Daniel Robinson, who went missing back in June of this year, roughly around June 23rd, 2021. Daniel is a 24-year-old male. His full name is Daniel Cornelius Robinson. He is roughly 5'8". He's about 165 pounds. He's got black hair and brown eyes, and he is missing part of his right arm, I guess past the forearm to around this hand is missing. It's just something that he was born with. But his father said that, he's never let that get him down, and he's always been able to surpass a lot of other people and always reach his goals. Daniel was attending college and graduated back in 2019 from the University of College of Charleston in South Carolina. And honestly, this guy was a smart guy. He majored in geology, and not only that, he picked an awesome college. I've never seen pictures of this college, but it is absolutely gorgeous, as you can see. I mean, it looks like something, down on the French Mediterranean or something. It just is a beautiful campus, and I can understand why he wanted to go there. And after he graduated, he got a job with the Matrix New World Engineering out in Phoenix, so he moved out right away. And he was overseeing lots of sites located in the remote desert areas, and he often worked in very extreme conditions and traveled long distances to work projects in crazy heat. But according to Daniel's father, he said that he loved what he did. He loved outdoors, he loved hiking, he loved examining the rock formations, and he just was really, really into his job. Well, he was last seen around Sun Valley Parkway and West Cactus Road, which he was driving to a job site apparently. And as you can see in these pictures, it is just vast, like nothingness. And apparently he was heading out this road west to get further into the desert areas. I just can't imagine. I mean, I would just hope that he had plenty of water and supplies, because as you can see, I did pictures from every angle, and it's just like nothingness upon nothingness. So anyway, Daniel was very familiar with these areas, and he had never had any problems before. He was driving his 2017 Jeep Renegade, and that was the last he was seen. Now, they were able to ping Daniel's phone, but apparently, I guess because of the phone being out of range or maybe turned off, they weren't able to see where it was located or where he possibly was. So unfortunately, that didn't lead anywhere. On July 9th, authorities performed an extensive air and land search. However, that turned up nothing as well. Unfortunately, according to the investigators, Robinson on this particular case didn't tell anyone exactly where he was going and why he was leaving the specific location that he was originally supposed to be in. So again, it's a little unfortunate because that would have helped at least narrow down the search. However, they brought in a Department of Safety helicopter, and the Buckeye police were mainly in charge of the ground search, and then they also brought in special search and rescue dogs, and they eventually did find his vehicle. Now this is the part I find very bizarre. They found it in a ravine, as you can see, and it's all toppled over like it had been in a serious accident. And it appeared that the airbags went off. It appeared that he was wearing his seatbelt. However, when the authorities looked in the vehicle, his wallet, his cell phone, and all his things were still in the vehicle, including things like clothing items, his keys, like I said, his wallet. And according to the police, they said that based on the effects, the personal effects they found, they didn't suspect foul play. However, I kind of disagree with that, because you would think, since he wasn't found with the vehicle, like he obviously didn't perish in the crash, if he, obviously had enough sense to get out of there, why wouldn't you take your cell phone and I can understand leaving the keys, the car's wrecked, but still you'd probably want your home keys. So I don't understand why you'd just leave all that stuff behind. You think you would take your cell phone because it would be the one thing that might be able to help you get help. I don't believe they found any tracks leading away, so I don't know. I just find that whole situation very bizarre. I mean, if he had crashed the vehicle and he managed to climb out, you'd think they would have found something else that indicated that, he had lived, he had walked off from the scene. And how did he end up crashing his car there to begin with? He wasn't a drinker, he wasn't a drug user. His father stated that he was in very good spirits. Now, some of the reports say that some of the co-workers said that his behavior prior to his disappearance was a little bit not like himself, but there was no indication that he wished to harm himself or leave the area. He loved his job, and his father said that he was very happy. After they found Daniel's vehicle, the Civil Air Patrol sent out some more planes, actually a bunch of planes, and trying to find any more clues. Unfortunately, they weren't able to come up with anything. And the family obviously is desperate for answers, and they too didn't believe when the police said that foul play wasn't a possibility. So they ended up hiring a private investigator, and the private investigator did a search on the black box from Daniel's Jeep. And apparently the black box shows that Daniel's Jeep was involved in multiple crashes after the initial crash, and the Jeep was driven for several miles and the ignition was cranked at least 40 times. So honestly, to me, just seeing the way the Jeep was, and the evidence, to me, it actually does support foul play. I mean, just because there was stuff left in the car, I don't know why the authorities would say that suggests not foul play, because, a person who was walking away from an accident, you would take some of those things with you, I would think. That's just my opinion. Now, here are some of the maps. If he were to drive from his house to the job site, it would be about 57 minutes. This is sort of a satellite overview. I know it's not really clear, but the one ping is where he was last seen, and the other ping is the job site. And sadly, now it's been over 3 months since Daniel went missing, and there haven't been any clues. And hopefully we can keep this story circulated and let more people know about it. And if people are going to be out in that area, keep your eyes open for things. And the authorities said that they weren't asking the public directly for help, but they said obviously if people are going to be in the area, keep your eyes open. And honestly, to me, and this is just my opinion, based on the evidence, based on what we know of Daniel, I think he was a very studious person. He was very smart. He just gotten this job a year or so ago. He was apparently in love with it. You know, his father has been interviewed, and his father would talk to Daniel all the time. He was very, very happy, and this is just completely, you know, out of character. So I personally believe that something nefarious happened. I don't know whether, you know, maybe Daniel met up with somebody there at the job site and they got into an altercation, or maybe somebody ran him off the road. But based on what the private investigator found, it definitely, to me, seems like something very bad happened. I mean, obviously there's a possibility it could be, you know, something simple. Maybe he was just driving along and, you know, an animal ran out in front of him and he tried to avoid it and he ran off the road and then crashed again. But it just seems that based on the evidence, foul play is a strong possibility. Once again, Daniel is an African American male. He is 24 years old. He is roughly 5'8", 165 pounds. He's got black hair and brown eyes. He is missing part of his right arm from about the forearm down. He was last seen on June 23rd, 2021 in his blue Renegade, but the Renegade has been found and they are investigating it and trying to find out more clues. They do have a private investigator working on this case now, which I think is great because that's already turned up more evidence than I think was originally found. So hopefully that'll lead to more evidence and more clues. And if you have any information regarding this case, please contact the Buckeye Police Department at 623-349-6400.